Chag Sameach. Shabbat Shalom. Last week, I watched the 10 Commandments of my 7-year-old son, Adiv. I watched the extended version, 3 hours and 50 minutes. And the film begins, at least the extended version, I don't remember if the original version starts the same way, just a static scene, just clouds and the beam of light coming through the clouds. And the image that we've all seen, driving on the prairies or looking through the mountains, the image we call biblical. And in the movie, there's that appropriate grand voice booming, saying, in the beginning, God created the world, and God gave a choice to human beings to be good or to be evil, but human beings chose to dominate each other. And one of the wonderful parts of that movie has its kitsch too, but one of the wonderful parts of that movie is that it conveys some of the grandeur of the Torah stories and the gravitas of the stories. And that's why some people still prefer the old JPS translation of the Torah. It's the oldest Jewish, not the oldest, obviously, but the oldest that we still use, translation of the Torah and of the Tanakh, of the Bible, that's still in use, that borrows some of the language of the King James, thou staff, comfort me, and but that, I think many enjoy it because it brings, again, some of that gravitas, some of the power of the text itself, that quality. And in certain moments, that's what you're looking for. And so my son Adiv was taking it all in, taking in the whole thing, and very much enjoying it, until I said, you can't look at the golden calf. But simple, straightforward, and powerful messages and spectacle. And the complexity of human behavior is brought into all of it. One of the aspects the movie conveys well in that old Hollywood way that's there in the Torah too, then the terseness of dialogue underneath one sees so much more, which is how the Torah is as well. It reminds us a little bit of the Hemingway approach to writing, right? The iceberg effect. Hemingway, when he wrote, would sometimes write a lot of prose, but would remove much of it. So what remained at the top was just the very top of the dialogue and of the descriptions, but one sensed underneath there was tremendous complexity, a whole, just like an iceberg is showing at the top, underneath there's a whole mountain happening, a whole underwater mountain. And so that the quality of spirit and the complexity that really is there if we look underneath all of our interactions and the movements of peoples and nations, which is what the Bible conveys so beautifully. And this is the biblical view. This is the biblical view of the world, that there's this immense mystery and depth that's underneath everything, this depth and mystery. And us human beings were mostly unimportant amidst this large scope in this great unfolding in the cosmos. And yet at the same time, the inner journey that each of us goes through in our lives, that inner path that it illuminates and that carries so much of our attention, each one of us, every day, every month, every year of our lives. But that journey is utmost important and significant, even in that large scales. And we see it in the beginning of the Torah and the patriarchs and matriarchs, and how it uncovers for us their struggles to show us their humanity as the first walkers of monotheism and Judaism, but also as a paradigm to show us that our struggles too, and our relationships and our ways around the world, that those too are of that utmost importance. Our failings, our successes, our love, all of it, and our relationship with the unseen but all-powerful God of the Torah. And then from the unseen God, of Genesis, at least that part of Genesis, and that personal, small scope, individual lives and stories of the walkers of Genesis, we rise to the grandeur of Exodus, an unseen God who manifests into creation to overturn nature and to rectify our human failings. And nowhere is that seen perhaps as strongly as in our story this morning, the splitting and crossing of the sea. And an image that conveys to us both the compelling power of the Bible to, in its magnitude, also convey the inner workings of the human heart and the truths and ideas, but also this friction with our human modern sensibilities of how the world works and whether waters rise up or not in everyday life. And I want to take us to the Song of the Sea for a moment, which is very complicated Hebrew and poetic, and considered by scholars one of the most ancient parts of the text, as we chanted this morning. And Miriam song afterwards, or during it, crossing the waters. And the word that I wanted to focus on, I mentioned this last night as well, is the word tehom. The word tehom means depths, and specifically, mostly the depths of water. And in the Song of the Sea, this word for depths appears first as an image of an Egyptian soldier sinking all the way down into the depths after the waters come on him. So this is what it says in the Torah. The deeps covered them. They went down into the depths like a stone. It was powerful actually seeing that in Hebrew during my aliyah this morning and seeing the word kmo even. And the commentators say, just practically, it was telling us even the best swimmers among the Egyptian army couldn't come out of that place. That's how far deep down they were. And then, as the song progresses, it gives us a sense of the overall picture. It says, at the blast of your nostrils, the waters, this is describing the main scene of it, the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up, and the floods stood straight like a wall. And there again, this word for deep, tehomot, the deeps froze in the heart of the sea. The deeps froze in the heart of the sea. Very complex but beautiful image of the deeps freezing. And even those in those mysterious places, the divine hand has power to do and undo, even those in those depths that are considered beyond the regular realms of life. And even there's this same construction as we all experience of life. Even those depths, those places far away have a heart, right? And they too can freeze, just like the human heart, like Pharaoh's heart. And the word tehom, or tehomot in the plural, later appears in prophets in many different places, again to convey these wide biblical spheres of landscape and of human cosmic interaction, the relationship between God and Israel, mankind, the scopes of life. And on some level, this word, to me, comes to encapsulate so much of the power of the Bible. And really, it appears very sparingly in the Torah, but maybe most markedly at the beginning, when out of the depths and the unformed, that's where God creates the world. It's out of these deep places that the world suddenly starts to take shape. And to the Torah, the depths, the waters, the sky don't go away, but they're always there in the edges of human experience and in the mystery, but also somehow present at every moment in all of our interactions, between our thoughts, in life itself, is all those churning depths. And when we go through everything that we go through, our redemptions, our trials, then our inner enemies are vanquished. They too sink into those nameless depths like stones. And we reemerge from those depths, reborn, new vistas and self-understanding awakening within us as we face our challenges. And even then, as we find the bravery as Nachshon to walk through all of it, that the cosmos helps by freezing the depths to help us walk across them. And through all of our meetings, through all of our interactions, they are there, even if we can't always sense them or see them. And yet, the message of the Bible is that what we call God, infinite love and compassion that beam through the clouds, is more than all of that. It transcends it all. It can pierce and freeze those depths and create new light and simple being that goes through them and out of it. I remember once being in Jerusalem and looking out over those beautiful hills and the clouds low traveling them and those beautiful stone buildings in Jerusalem, and seeing that biblical light and saying, yes, that's the light that we say is biblical, that feeling of depth and hidden meaning. And so what this brings, at least me to, is that we read these stories and we contemplate the Torah, these types of images, because they also take us out of the shallowness and of the mundane of everyday life. And they open up some of those depths. They do as Rav Kook said, they bring the ancient into the new and the new into the ancient. And they speak of life with more depth, with more power, with more meaning. Amidst all of the journeys we all go through, illness and moments of joy and celebration and trying to heal our broken world and everything that it's going through, and try and repair relationships and just enjoy our day-to-day lives. When we bring it all, it brings us that depth. And it reminds us of those seas splitting, of the skies opening up, of all those great mysteries that overlay the world that we believe we've mastered so well and have nothing more to see in it. And of that light that, if we open our eyes to see, guides us through all of it with truth, with beauty, and with love. Shabbat Shalom.